Triple crochet. If you've been following along, you know that when we did single crochet, we started with 1 loop on the hook. When we did double crochet, we started with 2 loops on the hook. And so you won't be surprised at all to learn that with triple or treble crochet, we start with 3 loops on the hook. We make those extra loops just by yarning over, and this is where you get the name triple or treble. Both names are interchangeable. I tend to say triple, but feel free to substitute whichever you like best, terminology wise. Once we have these 3 loops on the hook, we're going to insert into our next stitch, which is under those 2 teardrop shaped loops in the row below. Yarn over and pull up a loop. So now you have 4 loops on the hook. And just like we learned with double crochet, when you do these taller stitches, you always remove your loops in pairs for the regular stitch. So we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops only. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops only. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops only. And if you've been paying attention, you realize that we've also done 3 pairs of loops. 1, 2, 3. Again, that's where the triple or treble comes into play. So I'm just going to do a few more. 1 pair, 2 pair, 3 pair. You can see that it's much taller, and usually triple crochet will not be used for the regular fabric of a piece. It's going to be used as an accent. It's either worked over top in cables to add some texture, or it's open work mesh. Crochet starts that concept where you just make stitches taller by adding more loops. So if this is a triple crochet, then this is a quadruple crochet, and this is a quintuple crochet. You get the gist here. So a quintuple is 5, start with 5 loops on the hook. We're going to be removing 5 pairs, but otherwise it works exactly the same. You pull up a loop, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pairs. And you can see how much taller it is than the triple. But this also brings up another good point. A lot of times these taller stitches are used in edgings to round out those long lacy edgings where they start off with a big chain on the beginning of your row, and you'll end with a super tall stitch, and it will help add that shape. So just so you know, we're not going to do tutorials for all of those taller stitches. We're going to assume that now you know how to make that, and if you come across them in a pattern, you know that that the name of the stitch is telling you how many loops you start on your hook and how many pairs you're going to remove from your hook in the second stage. So now that I have a complete row done here, I'm going to show you. We'll chain up a little bit to give some room. Some of the variations. Just like the other stitches, a lot of these are going to be repeats that you know already. So front loop only, when you're looking at this top teardrop shape, this is the front loop, the one closest to you. This is the back loop, the one farthest away. If you're going to do a front loop only triple crochet, you just insert your hook under 1 loop only and work your stitch. If you're going to work back loop only, you just insert your hook under the back loop and work your triple crochet. Increases are the same. Increase just means working 2 stitches in the same space. We go right back to that same place to make our second stitch, and that will increase our stitch count in that row. Alternatively, decreases are also done the same way. So decreases are done in the last step of a stitch. So we're going to do our first stitch, first pair, second pair, and then stop and leave that on the hook for now. We're going to start our second triple crochet. If you pretend that these two are one loop, 2, 3, we're ready to do another triple crochet. First pair, second pair. So now these two are the same height, but neither of them is finished. So in order to decrease, we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops at once, and that makes this, that was 2 stitches in the row below, 1 stitch in the current row. So that's a decrease. I'll show that to you again. Since I'm running out of room on in the row, we'll just rip that out. Alright, so decrease. Ready for a triple, we start with 3 loops. We work this stitch all the way up until the very last yarn over, and then we wait. We're going to add 2 more loops for our next triple. And we're going to work that one all the way up until the very last stage. So you can see that these two are the same height with each other, but they're not as tall as the triple next to it because they haven't been finished. We're going to yarn over and pull through all of the loops on the hook at once, and that ties these 2 separate stitches into 1 stitch at the top, and that's called a decrease. You can also do extended triple crochet, but I don't know that I've ever seen it in a pattern. But just so that we're consistent with all of our alternatives, I'll show it to you. You start off like a regular crochet, but extended means you're going to add, before you start removing in pairs, you're going to add a chain. So we're going to yarn over and just chain through 1 loop, and then we're going to remove in pairs. It adds just a smidge more height to the stitch, and it comes in handy in certain situations. Just chain through 1 loop and then remove in pairs. So that would be extended. And then let's take that back. Post stitches. Post stitches are pretty common with triple crochet because that's how people do cables, and it's also a great way to do ribbing. But the basics of front and back post are the same. So front post, you're going to insert your hook from front to back around the body of the stitch, yarn over, and then remove your pairs as usual. Front post stitch. So get ready for your stitch as usual, but instead of inserting your hook into the top, you're going to go from front to back around the post, the body of that stitch. And you can see how it adds some nice raised texture. Back post triple crochet is the same thing as double. You start with 3 loops on your hook and you insert your hook from back to front, yarn over, remove in pairs. One more time, from back to front around the post, and remove in pairs. So let me do a couple more. Like I said, triples are most often used when you're doing Aran cables or edgings. So watch for it in those places. You can see how open the stitch work is, which makes it great for mesh. But otherwise, there's triple crochet. Happy crafting!